Alright, so at this point, what I'm going to do now is loosen up the engine mounts. And I'm doing that before I drop the rear end of the transmission, because now I'm basically at the point where I can't reach any of the bell housing bolts without getting tricky with a bunch of weird extensions and stuff like that. So I'm going to basically drop the rear end of the transmission down. I'm going to unbolt the cross member, but first I'm going to loosen up these engine mounts so that there's some play. I'm not going to take the nut all the way out. I'm just going to unscrew it basically as much as it'll go, and then that way give me enough room to play. Some people I've been reading online also loosen up the engine cradle. I'm not sure if I want to do that because it will screw up the alignment, and I don't really want to pay for that, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll try it first by just loosening up the mounts. If that doesn't do it, then I'll just do the cradle and, you know, eat the cost for an alignment. Alright, so now I'm on the driver's side. I had to remove the oil filter because it's directly in the way to get into the nut there for the engine mount. So I'm going to go ahead and probably do like some wobble extension or something like that in there to get that loosened up, and then from there I'm going to drop the cross member and start struggling with the bolts and see how this treats me. Alright, so here's the combination I had to use. I used two roughly foot long extensions and a wobble one and a shallow 17. I was able to break it loose and now it comes off easily, which helped that it got a little bit of lubrication from the oil that came out when I removed the oil filter, so there's that. But yeah, so I'm going to loosen that up as much as I can and head to the back. Alright, right now I'm going to go ahead, undo the cross member bolts. It's 414s. I got this jack under just so it doesn't fall down violently and smash me. So yeah, you can use the impact for it. Obviously you don't have to, but it's easier and faster. Alright, so as you saw, the transmission dropped down. Didn't drop down as much as I was expecting it to, but I'm hoping that it's enough. I mean, it's dropped down a good 6 inches, so I'm hoping that it's enough to go ahead and get the rest of the bolts that I need to, but I guess I'm going to climb under and take a look. Actually, I was wrong. It looks like it did come down to the block, so I got to lower down the jack. So it looks like it will go down a little bit lower, which is great. Alright, so it's looking better. I can get access to one of the bolts right there. Other side I haven't looked, but I'm assuming it's going to be a similar deal, so looks like I have to use a swivel, which is fine. But yeah, the top ones are going to be the ones I'm going to have to get creative with. Probably going to have to use a whole bunch of extensions and the wobble and see how it goes. Alright, so now I'm doing the bolt way up there, which I'm using 2 foot long extensions and another 6-inch extension. 6-inch extension, and then I also used a cheater bar on my ratchet right here. So broke it loose, so I'm loosening it up. This is basically what you have to do. There's no room for really anything else. Let's see if you can see it a little better. Yeah, there. So yeah, I think there's still another one even higher up than that, so probably going to have to do more extensions, but it's getting there. Alright, so now I'm over here on the passenger side. You can finally get to those starter bolts, which I'm sure there's other ways to get those with the thing up, but I'm going to get to them now using the same technique, swivel and extensions. So you can see it there. Then there's the other one up top. The top one's going to be the hard one, but they all got to come out, so go ahead and give it hell. Alright, so I got both the starter bolts out, which is great. So now I've just got whatever ones are at the top. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see through here, but you can kind of see one of them right there. And then on the other side, it looks like somebody's been in here before, because I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but there's one already missing up top, which is fine by me. One less one I have to take out. So it's looking like I just have one bolt left. So it's a 17 millimeter. The 2 starter ones were 14 millimeters. Alright, so terrible angle time, of course, but you can see I've got it on there now. I just need to put another extension so I'm able to actually crank on it, and then it should be able to pop out. is terrible filming action, but see if I can get a good shot. There we go. So you see it going all the way down. There's a wobble extension at the end, or wobble adapter, and then I got 2 foot-long ones and then a 6-inch one. I'm going to probably have to get another 6-inch one and then use a brake bar definitely, and it should pop out. Alright, so I just broke it loose. Definitely have to use a cheater bar at the end of my ratchet for that. I thought one of these extensions was going to break, but I got 3 feet of extensions here. You can see the ratchet's all the way back past the transmission, so yeah. I'd recommend having somebody else around for this, because it kind of sucks doing it by yourself. And I'm not really looking forward to dropping the trans down, but I'm going to put a jack under it. Hopefully it goes down easy. Got to move all the bolts and stuff that I got laying down here too, so I don't get stuff all mixed up. So, yep. Alright, so now I've got a jack under it, and I'm basically going to start wiggling the transmission until it pops out. So I'm going to try to set the camera up for this, but no promises any of this will be really too visible, but let's see what happens. It's separating nicely now, so we're getting there. Trying to position the jack so it catches it. I got the block of wood so it doesn't drop down and break. I'm gonna grab a crowbar right now and see if I can separate it that way. Alright, it's out. That was a struggle. Would have been much easier with 2 people. From my side, I couldn't tell that the damn thing was crooked until I went to the other side, so yeah. If you have someone else at your disposal, definitely use them. Alright, so obviously the transmission is out. There's the clutch, the pressure plate, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off and see how bad it is. I'm guessing it wasn't terrible, but yeah. Almost looks like the rear main was leaking. There's a lot of oil inside of there, so good thing I got another one of those. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to pop off the clutch, take a look at it, pop off the flywheel, scuff it up. I'm not going to resurface it. Just going to do a scuff on it, which is your choice. You can either do a new flywheel, these are expensive, or try to get it resurfaced, which a lot of places won't resurface these because of the dual mass. So, you know, totally up to you on there, but what I'm going to be doing is just kind of scuffing up the surface and then putting a new clutch and everything on it. Alright, so now I'm just going to try and impact off the flywheel. Bolts here, they're 14 millimeter. Obviously you can see there was thread locker on these, and I'm going to be putting thread locker back onto these. They say you're not supposed to reuse these, but I'm just kind of going to go for it. Totally up to you whether you want to or not. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to reuse them. Alright, got the flywheel out. I'm also going to redo that rear main seal. Not that it looks like it's leaking or anything, because it actually looks fine, surprisingly. But I'm going to change it just as a peace of mind thing. The car has 240,000 miles, so changing it out isn't going to hurt anything. Alright, so to remove the rear main seal, I'm basically going to get a long screw like this, start screwing it into it, and then back it out, and I'm going to cut the tip of it off so it's not pointy anymore. And then I'll show you what we do. Alright, so I ended up grabbing a different screw that was a little bit pointier. And basically I'm going to start screwing this in. See? I'm not sure how well you can see, but it's... Here, I'll grab the camera, bring it a little bit closer. So as I'm screwing it in, it's popping the seal out. And this screw is pretty dull at the end, so it's not going to mess up or start drilling into the block or anything goofy like that. And there you go. It's enough now that I can just get like a screwdriver behind it without damaging anything. So that's how you remove the rear main seal, and then to get it in, you're basically just going to tap it in all the way around to get it even to where you had it. I took a picture before where it was so that I can compare to how I end up putting it in, so yeah. And that's what it looks like with the seal removed. Just going to go ahead and tap the new one in, and then I can put my flywheel back on. Alright, so I just went ahead and put a little bit of grease around the perimeter of the seal. It's just all-purpose, general-purpose grease. It's just some cheap junk from Walmart. Doesn't need to be anything special or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and have fun now, trying to pop this bad boy in. You can see it's not always the easiest. Alright, so now I'm going to have to get something blunt that's not going to hurt it. Try to even it out because I pushed a little too much on the top part, so I got to try to even it out. So I'm going to go grab something and then get started on that. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is change out the pilot bearing. And this is what the pilot bearing looks like. This is the new one. Basically what I'm going to be doing, I rented this pilot bearing puller from an auto parts store, and as you can see, you won't fit both of the little, I don't know what the hell you call these things, little tabs into there. So I'm going to hoping to just be able to get one in there like this, and hoping that's enough to pull it out. So I'm going to hold and give it a try. This is basically the puller here, then it connects to the slide hammer. Rent these from basically any auto parts store, O'Reilly, AutoZone, Advanced, whatever, for free. You just put a deposit down and you get your money back when you're done. So hoping this works for me, but we'll take a look and see. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. There she went. It's out of there. Went flying over there. I'm really glad that didn't break. Alright, then looking at the little spot where that bearing goes in, it's kind of rough in there right now. Actually, it looks like it's got some rust built up, so I think I might take a cloth and just try to clean that out real quick. And then I'm going to put some grease in there, because essentially what I'm going to be doing is, here's the new one here, and here's the socket that fits right onto it. So I'm going to be using that to hammer it in. I'm going to try tapping it in. Hopefully it's not as hard to get in as it was to get out. But yeah, we'll see. Alright, so I'm not sure how smooth this is going to go. This is actually the first time I've ever tried doing this. So yeah, I'm guessing it's going to take me a while. Alright, so I'm switching sides as to which way I'm hitting it to see if I can get more leverage, because it's going in slightly crooked. I'm trying to fix it. I don't know if it's going to work. Ooh, there we go. Went in, it's smooth. I think it needs to go in a little bit deeper, which I can do now by doing this. Alright, so getting a better angle at it. I think I might need to go in a little tiny bit more, but unfortunately I did slightly mess up this outer dust shield to it, but I think it'll be fine. The bearing still goes smooth, and I really want to get this done, so I'm going to call that done. Going to tap it a couple more times, but that should be it though, because it did only go a certain distance before it stopped out. So I'm going to tap it a few more times real hard just to make sure that's good, and then go ahead and put the flywheel on, clutch, and then struggle with the transmission. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just put up that flywheel. Alright, so I'm going to put thread locker onto the bolts, wherever the hell I put the thread locker. And I'm just using the red thread locker. Alright, so they're all snugged up. I'm going to go ahead and grab my torque wrench. I forget what the torque specs are, but I'll put them up here on the screen. But I'm going to go ahead and torque these down. Okay, so now I'm torquing the flywheel bolts. They're 62 foot-pounds is what I found online. Should be close enough at least. So you're going to come across the issue with not being able to torque it down because they're spinning. So what I did is I popped off the inspection plate on the engine right back there, and you can stick a screwdriver back there to bite onto the teeth there. So then from there, once you lodge it in there, make sure it's a strong screwdriver, and then you can start torquing it down. So I already torqued down 2 of the bolts, and I should be able to torque the rest of them down now. So it's kind of annoying having to do it with one person without a flywheel holder. Flywheel holder would be ideal. They sell them on eBay for my Snap-on, because I couldn't find any recently. So yeah, but that should do it. Alright, so I didn't film this part, I forgot to set up the camera, but I torqued down the bolts here for the pressure plate.
and also put this little alignment tool here. So I put that in to hold the disc in, put the pressure plate over top, snugged up the bolts at first, and then torqued them down to 19 foot-pounds. I believe the factory is like 17 to 23 or something, so I went right around the middle. So as long as this goes in and out nice and easily, it should be fine. You should be able to line up your transmission into it. So that's going to be the next thing I do once I change out the bearing in the transmission here. Alright, and here's the throw-up bearing here, and here's the new one. They're pretty much identical. It's just going to snap off. It's really easy. I'll show you how that's done. Okay, so I ended up reusing the metal bracket off of the old one because this one wasn't quite bent the right way. Couldn't get it to fit on there. The old one works fine. And here's that, so plenty of grease there for it, so it'll be good as far as that goes. And now I'm going to clean up under the car a little bit and try to get the transmission in. Alright, and one other detail I forgot to mention, in the front we did jack up the engine with a block of wood and a floor jack. We jacked up the front of it so that it tilted backwards so that we were able to have the right angle to put it in, otherwise it was going to be damn near impossible. There's barely any room to work up there. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and try to wrestle this bastard in. Let's see how this goes. This is probably going to be a while. Alright, so not sure how well that video came out, but got the transmission. It looks like it only took a little over 10 minutes, which was very surprising because it took about that long to get the damn thing out. So basically what we did, obviously you could see, we put it up on the jack. They had one person manning the jack, and then I was in there looking, making sure it lined up. Kind of had to manhandle it a little to get it in, but once it was close enough, I did the two 17mm on the sides and started tightening both of those at the same time, and that's closed up the gap. So right now I'm basically just going to go ahead and reassemble everything. I'm going to do all the bell housing bolts, all the 17s on the half and up, then the bottom half for 14s, starter bolt, all that. So
These were a giant pain to get out, so I'm assuming putting some of those top ones is going to be just as bad to get in, but the hard part's over, getting the damn transmission lined up and everything, so yeah. Alright, so here I got basically all of it back together now. Exhaust manifold is in, just got to put the intake tube right there. Tighten up the engine mount bolts back up. I replaced the gaskets right there, along with new bolts as you can see, and washers. Still got to route the oxygen sensor wire up under the seat, but the exhaust is back in. Quick tip on the exhaust: if you spray penetrating oil on the rubber grommet hanger things, the exhaust slides back on there much easier. Also got the drive shaft back in, of course. I just need to put the plastic covers on here, but I'm draining the oil right now, and I got to fill up the transmission as well. I'm just going to fill it through the shifter hole. It takes about 2.7 quarts, so I have the fill hole unplugged, so I'm just going to fill it to the top here because it's easier. Then once it starts pouring out of the side, then we're good there. Obviously got to put the interior back together as well. No big deal there. So basically almost done. So far this has gone very smooth. Just a couple hiccups along the road, but overall it's definitely doable in your garage. Just if you have a lift, it's much easier. Alright, and there I am just filling up the trans fluid. You gotta pour kind of slowly because it will overflow through the top. I already did that, so lesson learned there, but you can fill it up through here. There's only the second quart, so about 3/4 of the way through the third one I'm going to check and see once it starts pouring out of the bottom. Then once it does, I'll put the fill plug back in, put the shifter assembly back in, and go from there. I also went ahead, changed the oil filter, oil, intake pipes back on. Only thing not back on under the hood is the engine cover, and then obviously battery got to be connected and all the plastic covers underneath, so I still got to do that before I get into the car because I'm kind of filthy now. So I'm going to finish up the stuff underneath the car, then change, and then go ahead and put the interior back together and take it for a drive. Alright, something that I'm going to go ahead and do now before I put the plastic covers back on is, since I got some manual trans fluid onto the transmission and it's going to leak some, what I'm going to do is spray it down with some brake cleaner before I go ahead and reassemble, so that way when I'm driving it I can check for leaks. I don't got to get freaked out if a little bit drips down that was from me overfilling. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and spray it down, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the plastic covers back on. Alright, so now I tighten the battery. I'm going to go ahead and try to start it. Now, so you can hear the blower going. I left the key to the on position. Alright, so here's what we got. Started back up, so that's a good thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it in first gear. It's up on jack stands, and let off the clutch. See if the wheels are spinning. Hey, look at that. Clutch is working. And there's an LSD. So, alright. So I'm happy about that. So now I'm going to put the engine cover on, put the interior back in, and take it for a drive. But I'm very happy.